speaking of missionaries' tendencies to violate international law, he pointed out that both in France and Russia there were laws that forbid Protestants from propagating the faith. Yet, at the same time, these same countries were putting pressure on the Ottomans to be lenient on Christian missionaries within the Ottoman Empire. Mehmet Sabahattin, activist and expat like Riza, criticized the European equation of Islam and fanaticism, writing, "That which is an obstacle to our progress is not our religion, but our social structure." Rather than blaming Islam, he believed the Ottoman Empire was a communitarian society that needed to adopt the British model of individualism and private initiative, and that Islam within a more individualized social structure would prove compatible with a pluralistic, multi-ethnic, and multi-religious society. Sabahattin criticized the pan-Islamist discourse of the Sultan and pointed out how the Sultan's main aim was to delegitimize Ottoman Muslim attempts to affirm Islamic values within the scope of a more secular model. His own views on pan-Islamism were that Ottoman intellectuals already represented a synthesis of Islam and European thought, and that pan-Islamism would only succeed if this synthesis was recognized and if European powers improved their relations with the Ottoman Empire. This said, young Turks in Paris enjoyed the sympathies of many Europeans, leading to watershed moments of support and cooperation. However, there were competing visions for what that Ottoman Islamic identity entailed. And when the last gathering of all the opposition movements mirroring the ethno-religious composition of the empire met together in Paris of 1902 to decide the fate of the Ottoman Empire, the intellectual vision failed to take shape. While the two Muslim leaders of the intellectual opposition, Ahmed Riza and Mehmet Sabahattin, both agreed religion to be a private matter and thus affirmed religious plurality, the Congress and its leaders failed to articulate a unified vision of said plurality. In its place grew heated divisions and a power vacuum, filled in 1908 by the militant opposition to the Sultan's regime. From there, the rest is history. The blind spot of many young Turks prior to the rise of Turkish nationalism was the assumption that an Ottoman constitution and a semi-representational government were sufficient to ensure equality in the empire. As scholars have put it, the young Turks were naive. Lacking a unified vision of Ottomanism backed by Muslim and religious minority alike, this vision failed to become reality. By 1902, leading opposition figures from the various ethnic groups had a sense that the dream of Ottomanism was dead and began turning to their respective nationalistic projects. European observers also felt that the end was near, and even in the absence of Ottoman presence, the degree of nationalism had reached a point that the Christians themselves were ready to fight, with or without the Muslims ruling them. So, what can we learn from this? Now that Europe bespeaks both a unity and a diversity rivaling that of the Ottoman Empire, it is perhaps easier to relate to some of the theoretical struggles of crafting a unifying identity amid semi-autonomous pockets within a coherent framework largely shaped by one religious tradition, Islam in the Ottoman case, Christianity in the European. In theory, it is easier to affirm shared human dignity, representation, and justice. In practice, it is no simple matter to strike a balance between honoring claims and complaints of minorities and marginalized groups while still espousing an egalitarian model of citizenship or representation. Thank you.